Okay, let me do a demo for your landscape drawing. There are some tricks to doing this one that will make your life a little bit quicker and easier, and I'll show those to you. So I'll start with activity 1.2, landscape drawing. I'm going to open my exemplar file, landscape exemplar. Ignore those, move it over. Type DC to open the design center and look at open drawings. Okay, so that gives me a start. Then it says to start a new drawing. So there we go. And rename it. So that's file save as, landscape, demo, and I'm going to call this one -2 so that I know which one it is. And then put from my exemplar, put my layout landscape B into it. There we go. There's my landscape B in my new drawing. And I'm going to remove my other layouts. That's sort of a setup process right there. Okay, so that's 1.2. Let's do 2.2. We're going to customize it. We're going to add general notes. Those are in the blocks. There are the general notes. And a hardscape. Materials, I'm just holding my left button down and moving it in. And my planting. And I'm going to try to line them up if I can. There we go. And that's just typical. You don't really need to know what they say or anything. Just know that those things often get done. So now we're going to do some drawing. So I'll go to my model and I'll need layers. And it says to put all my layers in. There we go. I just highlighted them. Left click, drag. They're all in there. Set my units for architectural. I type units. And this needs to be changed to architectural. Everything else stays okay. Let me make sure that my line weights are set for inches also. They are. Okay, now I have to draw. Okay, and I'm just going to show you. It gives me some dimensions for how far things are. This is a note. It's a 3.5 by 9.5. That means that from here at the bottom of the beam to the top of the beam is 9.5. For the rafters, it's a 7.25. Since this is a side view of this, these are all 1.5 inches wide. And this is 8 by 8. Now, it doesn't really tell me what these shapes are or where they are, except that it's 8 foot long, so I'm going to estimate that. And it doesn't really tell me what this edge looks like, so I'm just going to put something in there, not too critical. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start with my main beam. I'm going to draw on my thick layer. The layer I want to draw on. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I see that that thing is 12 foot wide by 9.5 tall. That is the beam. And now I'll draw a little line. I'll start somewhere. I'm going to set my O snaps so that I can do midpoint and nearest. I need both of those. There. And now I want that same thing. That might be a little too far. Let's move that over that way. There we go. Now I'm going to do a mirror command. I'm not sure we've done this yet. M-I-R-R-O-R, mirror. Select my objects because I want those perfectly across the other side. From the midpoint. See how it showed up over on the right? And no, I don't want to do that. So I have a perfect mirror image over here. That's a really nice little thing. I can trim these, and I have something that looks kind of sort of like that. So now I'm going to draw my column. It says that my column is 8 inches wide by 8 foot tall. I don't really care where that shows right there. Okay, because I'm going to move it so the end point is right, the midpoint is right there. And then it says the midpoint moves in too. So I'll move 2 feet. And then I'm going to move it down there. So that's the process I went through, because those are things that I see. Now, I need some sort of a little cap to it, and then a little bit smaller cap. And that one is going to go to the midpoint. And that one will go to the midpoint. Those are both move commands. Now I probably want to do that mirror thing again, so those end up right on the bottom perfectly. And then one of those can become a little spot. Oops, that should be a copy. There we go. And now I have some trimming to do, a bunch of trimming to do. There we go. And as soon as I get something really good done, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it again. Now the other one is 8 feet over, so I can do the copy command. Move over 8, and I'm using the foot symbol. 8 feet. So now I have to kind of read this thing. It says the rafters, and in my top view, the rafters start 1 foot, 1 1/4, 1 foot, 6 1/4 in. And my rafters are 1 1/2 by 7 1/4 tall. 1.5 by 7.25. So those are going to sit on the top of this, and they start in 1 foot, 6 1/4. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's just easier to move it 1 foot, 1 with the foot sign, and then move it again 6.25. Sometimes fractions get a little hard. Now I'm going to show you, I think I did this once, the array command. I'm going to make that array. And there's going to be, I think it says 6 of them. 6 of them. The distance between is 1 foot, 9 1/2. That's 21.5 inches. Let me get that right there. 21.5. And there's 1 row. Wow, isn't that cool? But I want them to go the other way. I just grabbed that end one and dragged it over. That's a neat thing we can do. And then there's a little stringer that's 1 1/2 by 1 1/2 that goes over it. So it's 12 feet long, 1.5 tall. And there's a trick I can use here. I know it has to match up with the end and the other end. And it just went right there. So that was a cool bit of drawing. Now I have to do my other view. It says skip the top view, so I'm going to do the right side view. Okay, so I know these columns are going to be the same columns, so let me start with one of those. going to show up right over there, and it's perfectly straight over. And then I'm going to copy that in this direction. It goes 9 foot 4 inches. 9 foot dash 4 inches. And then I have to see what this looks like on its side. And it's going to be 3.5 wide by 9.5 tall. 3.5 wide by 9.5 tall. And it's going to sit right in the center. And there needs to be one on the other side. Building it up as I go. Now I have to draw that rafter, which is 12 foot long, 7.25 tall. 12 foot by 7.25. And it's going to have this same weird little type of thing. I'm going to use the same little process that I used before. And then I'll do the mirror command. So that may be new for some of you. There's my midpoint, mirror it about the midpoint, and then trim. But this is a great time to learn that mirror command. I'm going to save this again. And this thing starts 1 1/4 foot over. So I can draw from this midpoint 1 foot, it's 1 foot 4 inch over. Cool. And then that will go up 7.25, just showing you a different way to do it. And I can move point to there. Did another good thing, so I'm going to save it. Now I got those little stringers on the top. They're 1.5 by 1.5 inches. And they start 1 foot 1 1/4 from the edge. I don't know if it's the corner that starts there or what, but I'm going to use the corner. 1 foot. 1.25 inches. There we go. Now I get that cool array command again. And it says there are 11 of those stringers. And the distance between them is 11.75 inches. And there's one row. And there's my drawing. I've got the drawing pretty much done. That's good. That's plenty fine for what we're going to do. Okay, so now I'm on to activity 4, which is to go to my layout and make that show up. Here we go. Def points layer, so it won't print later on. Things inside will print, but my little frame won't. Layout, rectangular, corner, corner. And then I think I suggested that in paper space we do 1/4 inch equals a foot. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to lock it and go back to my paper. So that's what your drawing is going to look like, but we need a few more things. Now we need some dim styles, architectural 1, and a leader type standard. We want to bring the standard in. So we're going to do these now on the text layer, and I'm just going to add these dimensions. So I need to make sure that my dimensions are on the architectural scale factor 1. So you do that with this tiny little annotation button. Go to the thing that looks like a dimension. Go to the tiny little arrow and say scale factor 1. This should come out to be about 12 feet. 12 feet. And this one should be 12. And try to line them up. You can put all the other dimensions in on your own. So now I'm going to do a leader. And I'm going to write, what does that say? 2 beams. And it says even more than that, but I'll let you do it. Now that's too big. So I'm going to click on it, right click and go to its properties and change that size to 3-32 inch. And then you should be able to get things to fit. You have to move things a little bit. But you'll be able to get them to fit if you do that. Okay. So there we go. Add the dimensions and the terms in paper space. That's in paper space. It's on the piece of paper. Okay. If you try to do it in model space, it comes out so teeny tiny that you can't possibly read it. Can't read it. So if yours looks like that, it means you're accidentally doing it with your model space open. You want to do it on your piece of paper. There we go. Let's just do a quick double check to make sure it's going to look good when it plots. Preview. There it is. Looks like a drawing. That is what I'm going to look at. Now, as I go through yours, I'm going to open it up and look at some of those things. I'm going to look to see that you've got the right blocks in there. You have the right dim styles, the right layers, the right layouts. Oh, I did miss one thing here. It says to rename that to cover. I'm going to check that too. I'm also going to look to see if you've got your line types in there. And then I'm going to look to see on your layout that everything is there. The title block does not need to be filled out. And I'm going to look in the model just to kind of make sure everything looks okay and it's lined up. So that is how I'm going to go about grading it. I look forward to seeing your really good work.